there's never been an instance where, the sideline reporter, Lisa Salters, comes and interviews the losing quarterback who didn't play in the game. Like you go interview Saban, you go straight there, hold the trophy. I'm trying to get, she catches me right before I'm walking in the locker room and is like, what happened? I had read Isaiah 26:3 the night before. It said, trust in the Lord, for the Lord is the rock eternal. When she caught me in that moment, like that's what came out of my mouth. And that's what I believe. And, this one was taken away from me, and it was the biggest stage of my life. And it's what I worked for not only me, but everybody for forever. And I didn't get to do it. But you know what? I still know that God has a wonderful plan, and it wasn't part of the plan tonight. And you just move on.
We've all been there. It's the last Friday of the month and you're still in the office again. One report is missing a receipt. Another invoice is stuck in approval limbo. You're trying to move like a modern business, but your finance software is stuck in the past. Most tools still run like it's 2005, very slow, clunky, and full of steps no one asked for. You're building a company for tomorrow, but your systems are holding you back today. Ramp changes that. One modern platform that runs your spend, bills, expenses, and close automatically. So your team gets back time, control, and most importantly, their sanity. Because finance shouldn't live in spreadsheets or silos. It should run with your business seamlessly while you build what's next. Check it out at ramp.com/powers, the modern way to run finance. All right, y'all have heard me talk about Better Pitch for years on the podcast. I'm super proud of their founder, Nico, who is a great friend of mine. He's one of the best young entrepreneurs I've come across. And in just 2 years, he's built an incredible company that is now rebranding as Collateral Partners. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. From single family investment decks to complete brand overhauls, ongoing partnership support to market research, they deliver institutional grade work that actually moves capital. Think of them as the difference between looking like a startup and operating like an institution. They're really your entire institutional marketing department. The team you wish you had in-house but can't justify hiring. Ex-Goldman directors who understand your business, ex-PE associates who craft your narrative, and world-class designers who make it all look effortless. Go check out collateral.com and mention the Powers podcast, and they'll give you a complimentary one-pager. Enjoy the episode.
So is this where you film all of them?
Well, I used to have a studio, and then when we moved out of that office, when I was across the street from you, I've probably been filming here for the last...
there's a podcast studio in our office.
Is it legit?
It's legit.
So is it legit as this?
It's about half this size.
In your office or just in the building?
In our office.
Really?
It's legit.
Does it have equipment?
Now, my equipment's there. Like the stuff that when I got to log on to like ESPN or whatever.
How often do you have to get on? How often do you use it?
It just kind of varies by season. Like this football season, I haven't done near as much. Like last year, I was doing it like every day. And it's been nice. I probably do it once a week. No,
because that's all you say yes to.
It's just different. Basically, it's just different networks or what special games or stuff. I haven't done very much NFL stuff at all. What I'll do now is I have buddies in the media who, for example, like AQ Shipley, he is paid by McAfee to go on every Wednesday. So like every Wednesday he's on the show and he's talking like O-line play, and it's like I don't know what they call it, like the big boys interior or something, and that's kind of AQ's segment. And then like Thursdays is like JJ Watt's like defensive whatever. It's cool that McAfee and I were same class. We got same draft class.
Yeah. So
he pays those guys to come in. They fly to Indy. I think JJ does like half and half. AQ flies to Indy. Late Tuesday night is there all day Wednesday, flies home Wednesday night. He lives in Phoenix. But for like AQ will call me on Tuesdays and walk through, like, here's the things I need your help. Like, what is this route? I'm like, because he's an O-line guy. So he's talking about this, and he'll always show, like, 4 or 5 of the big plays of the week or whatever that I've, like, given him or talked through with him. So I'm doing a little bit more of, like, that than I am, hosting a show or being a guest on a show.
Yeah. Do you have to study what he tells you on Tuesday? You know exactly what you're seeing.
Yeah. He shows me, and I'm like, okay, let me talk you through this. This is what this means. Here's the read. Here's the routes. Here's the depths. Here's what, just because, I've done that forever.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fun. And I'll do 2 or 3 things like that.
Do they pay you? Do they pay you to do it?
I do. For AQ, no. But like, if I'm going to go on to a show,
they'll pay you.
Yeah, but like an ESPN contract, ESPN offered me a contract, and it's all based on days. They do day contracts. So like they'll say, we need you for 30 days. And then you're subject to like that, one day might be 1 hour. It might be a full day in Bristol. Like, and so I said no.
Can't do that.
Yeah. But they'll say like 30 days and we'll pay you, $300,000, which is great. But it's like, okay, so I'm at the expense for a whole month. I'm at your expense to like drop everything I'm doing. It might be in my studio. It might be,
and you won't know.
It might be calling a game, and it might be doing first take. I'm like, it's not my deal. But those will always be there.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying what I'm doing now. Like, it's fun. I'm energized. Like, I enjoy like where we are and being on this, putting this team together and how we, that's just fun for me.
It's awesome.
So I told, like, I got hired by NBC to be a broadcast analyst, like to be the color guy. And that was awesome. Like, I really enjoyed it. The hardest part was, like, there's a lot of prep in the week that I didn't know about. Like, you got to interview both coaches, both coordinators on both teams. So, that's, coordinators on both teams, that's 4 separate interviews during the week. Defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, both teams. Then the head coaches on both teams. And then generally you do like 1 to 3 players off of each team. So now you're at 8, like separate, like Zoom in, log in, interviews, taking notes. Like, you need to know what they're saying. Brutal.
And that's just for one game.
For one game.
And you're having to cover multiple? Or
every week.
Yeah.
So you look at that and it's like, okay, that really is like, half these coaches are never on time. So you're just kind of sitting around waiting on them to log in, whatever. So that's like, a day and a half, at least 2 days probably worth of like being kind of ready or prepared. And then you got to watch the tape to like understand scheme on both sides and put your own talking points together. Like, if you see something, remind yourself. Then you got to study guys' names, and because the cardinal sin is a guy makes a play in real time and like you butcher his name. That's a big no. I mean, because every fan knows that guy's name. And then as a color guy, you got to know storylines of like, okay, where is this team right now? They're 5-3. They should have won 2 of those 3 losses. Why did they lose them? Who's playing good? Who's injured? Who's out? What's the because you can't like walk in and call a game and not know, oh, there's some drama between the quarterback receiver here, right? So you got to kind of immerse yourself in some of that. That takes up a lot of time. And then you fly out on Thursdays and you fly home Sunday night, and it's an away game every week.
You did that all last.
And I did that. I did 12 games last year.
You think Saban's doing all that shit?
No, because Saban's not in the booth. Saban just goes to game day.
But he just shows up and just kind of rolls with it. Or do you think he's doing a lot of prep?
He's probably got a team around it. Like, they challenged me to not have somebody like do the work for me.
Yeah,
which was probably smart. I think, like, as you get, you start getting into, I was the number 2 crew at NBC.
Yeah.
which is great. I mean, that's like a legit starting job if you want to be in that business. Like, I probably could have got the number one chair probably next year.
Yeah.
But I just told NBC, I was like, look, like, it's not about how much money you pay me. Like, you could write me. I mean, I guess at a certain point,
Yeah.
but like, because of all of this, like, I love doing it. Same thing. Like, but I would love coaching. Like, I love being on it. Like, I love the game, but like, why I left was because of these reasons. And what I'm doing is taking away from all these things. Like, I'm gone every weekend.
Yeah.
I missed all my kids' games last year. I missed Thanksgiving and Halloween, and it all adds up. And it's like, if I do that every year, what's the point? I said, call me in 15 years when my kids are out of school, and I'd freaking be glad to jump back in the booth. And I mean, it's natural for me. Like,
Yeah.
it's easy. And I would probably enjoy it a lot more. And you'd probably get a little bit more out of me because I wouldn't be missing anything.
Because at least during football season, you had 8 home games. And the kids could travel to a game. They're not going to go travel to the booth.
Yeah. I took the kids I took one kid with me one time.
Yeah.
But that was added stress. I mean, you got my kid playing on an iPad in the booth back behind me, like, stay right here. Yeah. Like, don't say a word. And they were cool to let me do that. But like, it's just a lot.
All right. So to get to like the position where you could call games, I kind of just want to go back to like how it all started. Like, what's your earliest memories of football?
My earliest memories of football, I have lived a football life.
What's a football life?
I'll go back even farther. My granddad, my heroes, he was a farmer and a great athlete, women's basketball coach of like 30 years at Abilene Christian, and also a track coach. And my mom actually played for my granddad at Abilene Christian. She was, a point guard and a 2 guard. And my dad played football at Abilene Christian, and that's where my parents met.
Okay.
And so when they graduated and my dad became a football coach, my earliest memories of football, I was like the water boy at 3 years old on my dad's sideline of the football games. And from 3 years old till I retired last year, like, I was on sidelines. And so, my when I say it's a lot, I mean, that's all I've done. It's been amazing. It's like, you really have like a PhD in all things football, from being in a locker room, from understanding offenses, defenses, players, leadership, coaching styles. I mean, travel, big games, district games, playoff games, conference, you name it. Like, I've literally been in every situation in football. The only thing I never did was play in a Super Bowl.
Really?
But I remember I was like 6 years old and I didn't get out of the way on time on the sidelines, being the ball boy. I got run over and broke my collarbone. So like, I had an injury before I even played football. The first time I ever played a game was 7th grade. And my dad just was a big believer in, I want you to be, developed to the point where like you can carry your pads and your helmet and you can tackle somebody with your head up, and you can defend yourself, and you can get coached by coaches who know what they're like, real coaches. Not that dads can't coach football, but that, that was kind of his way of saying. And so my dad and his staff, I grew up in a small town in West Texas, that like those coaches coached the junior high, they coached the freshmen, they coached the JV, and they coached the varsity. It was all part of it. So
you didn't play flag or anything?
No.
What'd you do all those years?
I played a little bit of basketball. I love basketball. Basketball is probably my favorite sport until I got an offer to go play at UT. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll go play football. But I also, a little bit of that is that I grew up in a small town, so it's not like we had a flag football team to go play on.
Okay.
And so part of like what I look back on is that of course I wanted to play. Some of the guys that I grew up with would like drive into Abilene, which was like the biggest town, and play Little League, Pop Warner, whatever. We just didn't have that in our town. But I wanted to play that.
Yeah.
I think looking back, like and what I try to explain to my kids is there's a little bit of like, there's a meaningfulness to making those games matter. Like, I love youth sports. I think they're great, but there's a difference between, and I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but there's a difference between, I waited until 7th grade to play football. So like, you can imagine first time I get to go play a game, like it was the most unbelievable experience ever. Whereas some kids nowadays will get to 7th grade football and they've played 100 games, and it's just another day, right? And so like, for me, it's, youth sports is awesome, but it's finding the balance of like, my favorite memories of all sports was like junior high and high school football.
Really?
Yeah, you're playing with your buddies, your boys. Like, we've all kind of waited to do this, and like, it matters. And every game is just like, first game of my life. I'm in 7th grade, and
were you quarterback?
Yeah, I'm quarterback and safety. I likes to hit people. We got we left school early at like 2:00. We played the 5:00 game on the road in Albany, the Albany Lions. What a cool stadium.
Zach Jones is probably.
Zach Jones. we got on the bus. We're all in our slacks and our button ups and our jerseys over our white collared shirts, and we all look the same. We're all nervous. We get to Albany. It's about an hour bus ride, maybe a little longer. We're carrying all our bags, all of our equipment. We're in like some little locker room smaller than this. And I remember I go to the bathroom and I yak. I mean, I'm like, I'm not sick. Like, I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Like, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
And then we go out there and play, and it's awesome, and we win. And, I like celebrating, like, I mean, everything led up to that. Right. And so I've just loved football ever since. Like, it's been an amazing journey. And if you would ask me in 7th grade, do you want to play in college? Sure. Like, no clue what that meant. Do you want to play in the NFL? Sure. Every kid who plays football wants to go to the NFL. Right. Like, but I didn't, that wasn't like my goal. My goal was to go play with my buddies.
Yeah.
And like, I always tried to treat games like that, because that was my first memory. It was like, if I'm in my 14th year in the NFL and I'm playing, the LA Rams in SoFi, it's like, it's still a kid's game. I still get to do this. Right. And it's hard to keep that perspective, but I did my best to try that.
We'll get into middle school and high school for a second. I know your dad was a coach, but sometimes like your parents can like burn you out. What did your dad do to like make you love the game? Like, what did he do well? On one end, like, you couldn't play that first game until you were in 7th grade because there was no other options.
Yeah.
But like, what did he do as a coach to keep you like inspired and wanting it? And maybe it's just like the gifts God gave you early on, but that can go both ways, where you're like, I don't actually want any of this. And how did he impact all that?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, growing up, like, the star players on my dad's football team were like my heroes. They were also my babysitters, right? Like, I was just around it all the time. I think my dad did a wonderful job of, like, I always knew that he had high expectations for me, because he was a coach and because he was my dad. And I think naturally as a dad, like you're going to have high expectations for your kids. It may not be in sports, but maybe in school. It may be in how you treat people. It may be in, being respectful everywhere we go, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I always felt that there was an expectation from, I could just feel, but I also would say that he did a really good job of kind of separating, hey, I'm talking to you as your dad right now. Yeah. About whatever, or hey man, sit down, son. I'm your coach right now.
Yeah.
And but there was always a clear. He did a good job of, there was a distinction between both. So, sometimes I'd be like, Dad, are you talking to me like a dad, or you talking to me like my coach right now?
Yeah.
And he always made me earn everything way more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I wanted to play quarterback in high school or varsity when I was, a freshman, but he didn't let it happen, and I went and played basketball. I was a starting point guard on the varsity basketball team as a freshman. So I was like, well, I think I'm a basketball player now.
Yeah.
And then sophomore year, it was like, I think the assistant coaches had to convince my dad that, like, hey, like, he's the guy.
Yeah. He doesn't have to earn it
but
anymore.
You grew up in a small town. There's politics. There's, it's the coach's son. He's going to. So I think he was cognizant of that, and he had high expectations for me. And so, like, I sensed that. I felt it. And so, I also think I loved football forever, but growing up in a small town and a small school, like, I played 5 sports in high school. You played football, basketball, you ran track, played golf, played tennis. We had enough guys for the baseball team. So I kind of stopped playing baseball when I got into high school. You kind of did it all. Yeah. And there was a beauty in that. That was a ton of fun. But, one of the things I respect about my dad is that he was a great football coach. Yeah. And, I mentioned earlier that my granddad was a farmer, and, that was part of our lifestyle too. And I didn't learn this till a few years ago, but, my dad was offered big jobs to come to the Metroplex or go to Houston or, Austin, big towns. He was a good football coach, but he raised us out in West Texas in small towns, so that we could be close to having to work the farm in the summers, and, the weekends that were free. Like, we were out there, that was my memory. I was playing football or sports, or I was working. And, I didn't pick up on that until, later in life. But I'll always respect that about kind of, my roots and the morals and the values and the foundation that my parents and grandparents gave me growing up in West Texas.
Okay. So you can say it humbly, but, like, when did you kind of know you were better than most at football? If you didn't even get to start quarterback till sophomore year, were you already good at that point, or?
We didn't lose a game in junior high.
Okay.
But I also had, like, good teammates.
Yeah.
I had good guys around me. We all worked hard, and, it meant something to us. Yeah. Like, we just now got to do it. I would say that I felt like I sensed something about me, like my junior year, and I got recruited late. But during my junior year, I felt like not that things came easy, but that, like, we were winning by a bunch. I just felt like I was controlling some things out there. Like, yeah. I could run, I could throw it, I could kind of control the game a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that really meant, but, one of my goals was to play college football, and I had been offered a scholarship to go play basketball at Abilene Christian. And I thought, well, my mom did that, and my granddad coached there. And I think, if I get the chance, I'm going to go play football and basketball at Abilene Christian. That would be perfect with me. And so I think the first time I really felt like, I can do this is when I got a scholarship to go play, like, at a big school. And when somebody saw something in me that was not my, the small town in West Texas where I grew up. I mean,
keep going.
Yeah. Like, I had qualified for the district I had got first or second place in the district track meet in the high hurdles. I hated track, by the way. And I got a letter in the mail from the University of Texas. And I'll keep this story short, but basically I took it to my dad, or maybe my dad had the letter. He showed it to me, and it was Texas invited me to go to a 1-day mini camp. So back in the day, recruiting's totally changed now, but back in the day, they would invite you to a 1-day camp. They'd get your height, their weight, your measurements. You'd run a 40, and then you'd go outside and you'd throw routes on air, and you'd compete against everybody else out there, and they'd fill your day, and then you go home. And it was school's ways of, I think they could do like 1 or 2 of those a spring. So I get that letter from Texas saying
Junior year?
Junior year, like end of junior year, like May of my junior year, like come to our 1-day mini camp. And it was the same day as the regional track meet. And nobody else on my track team, we weren't competing as a team at regionals. I think only a few guys made certain events. And so my dad was like, "Hey, bud, this is up to you. Like I'll take you to the 1-day camp if you want, or you can go run track. It's like, it's up. I'm not gonna make this decision for you." And so I slept on it, and I loved football. I was like, you know what, I want to crack at it. So I ended up not going to the regional track meet. Ended up going. My dad, we woke up early. Woke up like 4 a.m. Drove to Austin, which was about 3.5, 4 hours. Spent the day at camp. There was a ton of kids there, and the quarterbacks in my class were Mark Sanchez. He had been offered a scholarship to UT, and a guy named Ryan Perilou, who ended up going to LSU. And so the people who had been offered scholarships were like on one field. These are the prize ponies over here, and the rest of us went to like another field. And I was like, man, I see where this is going, right? But I did all my stuff. I started throwing the ball over there. Eventually, I worked my way over to this field towards the end of the day, and kind of started throwing head to head with these guys. And I thought I did a pretty good job. I thought it was worth my time. And when camp ends, and we're walking back out to the car, and one of the assistants says, "Hey, can you guys come back inside? Coach Brown wants to meet you." And I look at my dad, and I'm like, and he's like, "Yeah, let's go." So we go back in, and Coach Brown and Miss Sally are there. And, Coach Brown sits me down and is like, "Son, where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Buffalo Gap, Texas."
He's like, "Where's that?"
I go to Jim Ned High School. And he's like, "Son, I'm head coach of the University of Texas, and I have no idea where that's at." And so and your dad's your coach? "Yes, sir. My dad's my coach." And we've had a couple good years. We lost in the state championship game my junior year, which was our only loss that year. And anyways, we just kind of start talking back and forth, and they're able to pull up some of my tape, and they start watching that a little bit, and they saw me throw head to head against these other guys, and it was fun. It was good. And then we go back to the car and go home. I remember getting in the car and telling Coach Brown, or telling my dad, like, "Dad, like, hey, like, if I get a chance to come to the University of Texas, like, nothing else matters to me. Like, I am going here." And, I remember my dad kind of chuckling and looks at me. He's like, "Yeah, son, like, you and everybody else in the world." Right. And so we drive home, and, I was wiped. It was a long day, and we get home late, and we wake up for church the next morning, and we're all getting dressed for church, and go out the front door. And there was a overnight FedEx handwritten note from Coach Brown that says, "Thanks for coming to camp. Love getting to meet you. Here's your full scholarship to come to the University of Texas."
What?
Yes. And that's how it happened. And so we're all celebrating, me and my mom's crying, and I'm like, I don't know what nobody at my school had ever been, boy or girl had ever been, at least for a really long period of time, was not on like a full scholarship to go play a sport. And then, a week later, I had like 100 scholarship offers because Texas offered me. So, every school in the country like started coming. They started coming like, we want to watch you do spring practice. And my dad's like, we're a 2A high school. Like, we don't have spring practice. Everybody's playing baseball and golf and tennis and track. We don't have an off-season program. So, I mean, I told Coach Brown, I'm in. And Coach Brown said, well, I'd like to sign 2 of the 3 guys that I've offered. So I said, I don't care. I'm in. Like, bring them. I just threw head to head against them. I'm in. And so I never went and visited anywhere else. I didn't travel anywhere else. Like, I went to Texas.
You get a call randomly to go down to Texas. They had seen your film somehow. I guess they were doing film. This would have been what, 04?
This was 04. So
I graduated how would Texas have even known? They just know there was this great team up in Buffalo Gap that was winning by a lot, and they'd maybe heard there's a quarterback there that's kind of running hot.
I'm sure there was like a GA or an analyst or somebody that like got wind or something, and just sent out a flyer to like, hey, come to camp.
So you go to camp.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously have a good throwing day.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, like within 48 hours, your whole world was completely turned upside down.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's May. So you go into summer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you have a good senior year.
Yep. I mean, listen, I played 2A high school football. I mean, you play both ways. I remember, the big deal for Coach Brown was like, we don't want him playing defense.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I love to play defense, right? And so that was. Yeah, we played my senior year, and I had the opportunity to go early and graduate early, and I said no, like I want to play basketball. Like, I love basketball. Our team was good. We ended up getting beat in the state tournament in Austin. So we went to the state championship. Got beat by a team by like 4. So finished out my senior year. Then I came in for summer school and started. But yeah, the story's wild, and I think if you were to ask anybody in my hometown of 700 people, like, Colt's going to the University of Texas, like, I don't think anybody would have assumed that I would like actually go be the quarterback there. I mean, I did. Deep down, somewhere in there, I was like, I got a chance.
Yeah.
But this doesn't happen. Like, this never happened. And so I felt like Coach Brown gave me an opportunity and went out on a limb for me, which he did. But like, I will always be grateful for that. And I also felt like I'm representing, all my buddies that I played football with.
Yeah.
I'm representing West Texas. I'm representing all the small town kids who play football who never got the chance that I got to do. And I would imagine there's better athletes, better players than me, but somehow I got picked. And I have always tried to honor that.
One more question, then we'll get to arrival day. So that day at camp, how many total there was Mark and the guy that played at LSU. There was you. Was there anybody else, or was it just the 3 of y'all?
It was just us 3.
So there
was some other guys that like never made it to this field. There was like other quarterbacks over here.
Yeah.
But like, it was us.
They kind of moved you to the good field after they saw you throw a few.
Yeah.
Were you throwing them long, just direct?
You're throwing to guys you've never thrown before, right? You don't know how fast this guy is. I think they're doing drills, footwork drills, take a 5-step drop, do a rollout, give me 3 and a hitch, those sort of things. And I think I'd been playing the game my whole life. Like, I've been doing that since I was 3.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think, there was things I needed to work on and get better at, but I think just overall, you can, if I'm nothing, like, being around the game forever, like, I am a really good evaluator of talent. Yeah. Like, I can go out and watch a high school football game, and I can tell you if anybody on that field, no matter what position they play, like, have a chance.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've just seen it forever. And so I think it was the same thing that day. It's like, okay, like, let's put you over here so I can kind of evaluate you with like what I already know.
Yeah.
Mark and Ryan and those guys are like, I think Ryan was the number 1 recruit in the country, and I think Mark was number 2.
Yeah.
And so I knew who those guys were, right? Now I get to go through. I'm going to give you my best shot, right?
So you get to Texas, you get to, what is it? I guess summer 2-a-days.
Yeah, I get to Texas and
did you kind of arrive? You in your heart knew I'm gonna make it on that starting squad. But did the world kind of like, were you arriving as like third string, second string, first string, or were you arriving as like end of bench?
Yeah, I was arriving and no one knew who I was. I think people thought I had a cool name, and that's about it. Like nobody knew anything about me. In fact,
it's a pretty football name.
I wasn't really like ranked on like any website until Texas offered me a scholarship. And then I became like a low ranked, like I think I was a 3-star.
Yeah.
If that rings a bell for anybody. And so we had the smallest recruiting class in UC history. So my 2005 signing class was 13 guys. I think like 9 of us got drafted, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But I remember
9 of 13 guys got drafted.
Maybe more. I remember, getting onto campus, not, all the guys, like, you don't really know anybody, but it was like Jamal Charles and Jermichael Finley and Roy Miller. And like, a bunch of these like household names. And after a few days in, the dudes were like upset at me.
Oh,
wow. I'm like, hey, listen, like, cause we were like the number 3 class in the country, 4 class in the country. And then, it's all based on what your ranking is. And so when I came in as like the only 3-star, like we went from like the number 3 class to like the number 11, 10 or 11 class. And so they were all like, come on, man, you really, I'm going to trust me. If I get out, like if I get a chance, trust me, I'm here for a reason. And so that was always like the running joke, like around like our recruiting class was like, man, Colt, run this for us,
Then the next question just becomes, when did you figure out you had a chance at Texas, that you weren't just gonna?
Yeah. So
quickly.
This turned into be. I ended up redshirting that year, and I needed it bad. I mean, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because I came from a small town in West Texas. We didn't really have an off-season program. You just went from we lost in a state championship game in football on a Friday night, and Tuesday night we had a district basketball game, right? So it was like, take the helmets and cleats off, put your basketball shoes on, go shoot a couple free throws, and like, let's go play. So I just, I was little, like I was 6 foot. I think when I checked into campus, I was like 169 pounds, just a little athlete. And I remember checking in and getting on campus, and it still amazes me that I got a scholarship, like knowing what I was. But I guess whatever potential they saw in me to take a flyer on me. But I needed a year. And I actually hit a growth spurt my freshman year. I didn't like my first start, after my redshirt year, my redshirt freshman year, I was 6'2", 195 pounds. So I put on, 25 pounds. I actually grew 2 inches.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And so, but that whole year, I was 5 a.m. workouts every day with Mad Dog. I mean, every single day, squatting, benching, power clean, running, like just anything to put meat on my bones. And at the same time, it was meetings and meetings and meetings, like learning the offense, learning the system, learning protections, learning coverages and defenses. And it was a constant, just like first time in my life where I was just consumed with one thing. Like I wasn't going to basketball practice and baseball and track. Like it was football all day long, and I loved it, but I knew I had a long ways to go. And so it was just a full on commitment of, if I ever want to have a chance, like I got to do this. And so that whole year, I technically was the backup probably. Vince was the starter. So it was, I mean, we went 13-0 and won the national championship, which was incredible. Back then,
that was 05.
That was 05. So back then, if you played one play, you burned your red shirt. Now you can play like 4 games and still red shirt. So the whole goal was to not play. But I traveled and I dressed every game. I was holding a clipboard and I was tracking. I was on the headphones. I was listening to like, I mean, I got a front row seat to like what this needs to look like. And Vince never got hurt, and so nothing.
And you were second string. You're technically.
I was running the scout team. I was technically third string because we had a 5th-year senior who traveled and was the backup.
Got it.
And like cleanup duties. But I think if something, catastrophic would have happened to Vince, I think I probably would have burned the red shirt. But I'm glad that didn't happen. And, it's like, it was a great way for me to not only, put on some weight and physically get stronger and mentally get dialed in more of like how we call plays, what it looks like, how we execute, how we operate. But also to see it. Like I'm a visual learner. I always have been. So I'm like, and the one thing I remember was like, there was a lot of self-doubt in me. Like I'm here for a reason, I think, but like, I can't go do that. Like I can't run like that. Like I can't do these things that Vince Young is doing. And so I had this back and forth in my head all the time of like, if I'm ever going to play here, it's not going to look like that.
Yeah.
And so what can it look like? Like what are my strengths? And I learned real quickly that, I was never going to be the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. But in order to play high level college football, you got to have an edge somewhere. And my edge ultimately ended up being, like in my head mentally, like understanding structures and coverages and defenses, understanding offensively, like where the ball needs to go, checks, audibles, alerts, packages, like to just operate the thing flawlessly and trust what I'm seeing to go do that. And so that's where I just dove in. And though, I remember, walking up to Coach Brown's office after Vince left and went to the NFL, every year we brought in a 5-star quarterback. Nothing was, and I remember Coach Brown sitting there looking at me. He's like, son, listen, and Coach Brown and I are super tight now. And we always have been, but it's different when he's your coach and, day to day. He was like, nothing's ever going to be given here, especially to you. Everything's going to be earned.
You're
right?
like, damn, my dad's making me do this forever.
And exactly. Like, but I was used to that. I was used to that. And so like, it was just a daily, like, somebody's coming to take my job today and I'm not going to let it happen. And I played that way my whole life, especially at UT, because I had to go earn the job my next year. I had to go earn the job the next year. Like I kind of felt safe after my junior year, like going into my senior year, that like, I still got to go get it, but like I don't think anybody's going to take my job right now, right? And I've just always had that mentality.
So you started your sophomore year?
I started all 4 years. Yeah.
I guess it would have been your freshman year.
Yeah.
Just a little like walking onto the field for the first time.
Yeah. It's my first game. We played North Texas.
Okay.
And I had a really good training camp. And similar to my dad and how like, some of the assistant coaches had to convince him that like, okay, he's our best guy.
Yeah.
I think, I got voted captain 4 years in a row. And that's probably one of my proudest accomplishments. Because it's all about the players. Like the coaches are amazing. Coaches can call great plays. Coaches can help in a lot of different ways. But like, if you don't have the respect of your team and the guys that you're doing this stuff with, and you're around them all day, every day, like you got to earn that.
So let me ask you a question. Were you voted captain leading into your freshman year, or you voted on that at the beginning of the year?
Yes and no. So like at UT, there was never like we never had captains were voted on. Like you got that at the end of the year at like an awards banquet.
Okay.
But there was captains to like walk on the field and do the coin toss changed. It was mostly like seniors, and we rotated that out.
Yeah.
And that's how Coach Brown did it. But there was an understood like who's calling the shots around here.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of my teammates advocated for me to be the guy, but I was competing against a 5-star, a guy named Jevin Sneed, who was like Mr. All World, and he was a great quarterback, and it was head to head. I mean, head to head every day. And I remember going into the first game at North Texas. Coach Brown called me in on a Thursday night, and I'm thinking like, man, I've done everything I can possibly do. I hadn't even really thought about North Texas. I've thought about like being the quarterback. And he says, listen, I think you've done a good job. I'm proud of you. He's like, but like, you're going to start this game, but Jevin's going to play too. And he's probably going to play in the third series. He's like, so depending on how it goes, what this looks like y'all are both going to play. And I was like, all right, like if that's where we're at, that's where we're at, And I remember going out and never coming off the field against North Texas. Right. And just, I threw 4 touchdowns. We rolled, and it was like, you asked like, when did you think you could do it? Like, I probably didn't think I could do it before that game, but going out there and like feeling it and smelling it and executing and doing it, like, then it was like, okay, like games are going to get harder, but like I got that one under my belt, and I you get that point, everybody's comparing you to, we just won the Natty. It was just, and I'm 3 inches shorter and not as fast, but like I did some good things and things that I could build off of and things I could get some confidence in, and we went.
Not only did you come off the Natty, you said it was the greatest college football game maybe of all time. Was the 2005 Natty,
for sure,
that you also got to watch firsthand.
I think if you asked a lot of people, I think most people would say that's one of the greatest games of all time.
So what's funny is I had Steve on yesterday who went to USC. He said, tell Colt, everybody in Texas probably says that. Everybody at USC has forgotten that game.
Yeah. But there was stars galore in that game. Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Lindell White. Their whole defense got drafted. You look at our 2005 team, the defense we had, the guys we had on offense. It was a game, and not only was there so much talent on the field, like the game was epic. We stopped them on 4th down at midfield with a couple minutes left. We go down and score. Vince runs it in. Like you're like, what? We just won. Pretty awesome.
Better fun night.
It was a fun night. Really fun night. But afterwards, Vince was like, I'm out. I'm heading to the league. And I'm like, yeah, you're the best player in the world. It immediately became real.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now what?
Okay. So you a few more things in college. So you start all 4 years. What is like your greatest memory? Is it a game? Is there a moment? Like, Texas football is such a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's just a big deal. Was it maybe like, what was the pinnacle of it all for you?
Yeah, I think, I had the opportunity to leave after my junior year. Really was torn up about it. Because I was getting feedback from the NFL that I was going to be a, mid to late 1st round pick, maybe early 2nd round pick.
End of junior year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's hard to turn down. I'd been in school for 4 years, played 3 years. And, I think at the end of the day, what mattered most to me was graduating from Texas. But more important than that, honestly, was the guys that I had been playing with, like all my teammates. And I didn't know if we'd be as good as 2008, but I knew we had a chance to go back to the Rose Bowl in 2009. And I loved college, and I loved, like, our coaching staff was the same. It was set up in a way that, like, I really was convinced that we could go win a national championship. And I experienced that my freshman year, but I wasn't. I was a part of it, but I didn't play. And I wanted that. And I knew it was going to be back at the Rose Bowl. And And so, it was like, it allowed me to kind of do all that. And it became a pretty easy decision for me was to come back. And I think if you ask me like what my favorite memories were, there's rivalries at Texas that are really fun. Oklahoma's the big rivalry. Playing in the Cotton Bowl in that environment, split down the middle, same tunnel. This generally whoever wins that game is going to go to the Big 12 championship and have a shot at the national championship. Like all those things it was awesome. And I played good in that game every year. It was fun. The A&M game is great. And, it's kind of the big in-state rivalry.
But they're Aggies.
Yeah. But it's still like, playing at Kyle Field was an awesome experience. And so, all those, those are the kind of the two games you circle on the calendar every year. But I think probably the game that everybody remembers the most is, we made it. We made it to the national championship. Like that was the goal. There was no other goal that year. Like if I was coming back, like that was it. Everybody, it was almost like we didn't have to talk about it. And we got there. It's hard to do. We were playing a lot of young receivers. We had a lot of young guys playing in different spots. There was some close games in the year where the year before we were kind of blowing out people, but we were still winning. And we were kind of learning along the way and bringing these young guys up. And so there was times where it was a little bit frustrating, but we made it. And going into that game, it was. I mean, we were underdogs, but the expectation and the everyone knew we were going to go win that game. Like there was like we knew, and then to have that taken away by injury was awful. And that you can't go back and change anything in time. And I've certainly had many years now to like dwell on that and think about that. And that was a tough blow to not just to me, but to like, I didn't even care about me in that moment. Really. I cared about my coaches. I cared about my teammates. Like no quarterback had stepped in the huddle and called a play for the last 4 years. It's like, it was chaos. Like it was awful. And that hurt. That still hurts. But at the same time, like when you look at the totality of everything, like, would I've loved to like finish that game and win that game? Like, of course, absolutely. But that didn't happen, and that was taken away. And I've learned a bunch from it, and still deal with it at times, physically. But also grew up a lot after that. Like, that was a really tough deal.
What do you remember about that play? Like, what do you in the moment? Like,
yeah,
do you remember
you're
calling
so,
this? You kind of black out over it.
You're so locked in. Very routine play. Like nothing, not even like that hard of a hit. Like it wasn't like a massive collision. It was just he caught me the right way and landed on me the right way, and like it didn't hurt. And I remember I'm at the bottom of the pile. I'm trying to get up. I'm trying to push myself up off the ground. Like I have nothing on the right side of my body, and I'd had stingers. Everybody who plays football has stingers before. Kind of burns and it doesn't feel good, but you kind of shake it off, and like a few minutes later it comes back. Like, and so that's kind of what I was
hoping for.
Yeah, that's what I was for sure. But like I came off the sidelines. I mean, when I say it was turned off, like it was turned off for 3 months. Like I got drafted late in the 3rd round. I was supposed to be a 1st round pick, like because no doctors could say he's gonna be all right at this date. Like the feedback was he may never be right. Like that, like it's different on every person. It was a cervical, in my neck. Everybody thought it was a shoulder injury. It was like it's your neck that goes through your shoulder and down. Like, I mean, for a month I couldn't like control my hand to like go pick up something. Like it was a freaky deal. And if I had any ounce of anything, like,
You were
you would never come off that field, right? So it was one of those, like, it was one of those deals. And I remember at the end of the game, I couldn't take my shoulder pads off at halftime, so I just walked back out and did my best to be a cheerleader for everybody. And I'm trying to get back to the locker room after the game, and there's never been an instance where the sideline reporter, Lisa Salters, comes and interviews the losing quarterback who didn't play in the game.
Yeah.
Like, you go interview Saban, you go straight there, hold the trophy. I'm trying to get. She catches me right before I'm walking in the locker room and is like, "What happened?" Talk to us, whatever. I had read Isaiah 26:3 the night before. It said, "Trust in the Lord, for the Lord is the rock eternal." I went to bed that night like I do every night before a game, just excited, pray, and wake up, and it's like ready to go. And when she caught me in that moment, like, that's what came out of my mouth. And like, that's what I believe. And this one was taken away from me, and it was the biggest stage of my life, and it's what I worked for not only me but everybody for forever. And I didn't get to do it, but you know what? Like, I still know that God has a wonderful plan, and it wasn't part of the plan tonight. And you just move on.
Were you like, dude?
I mean, you're frustrated, you're aggravated, you're pissed, you're a competitor, you don't know what's going on. Like, I couldn't like control this. I mean, I had nothing.
Just limp.
Nothing. I mean, I there was like a little fractured rib in here. So I mean, he caught me good, but I didn't even feel that. I couldn't. It was gone. And I think, being able in that moment to, that's what comes out of my heart. I think looking back, I'm very thankful that that's what came across, because that's what I think, amongst all the emotions I was experiencing for myself and for everyone else, was like, I stand on the rock, because that's the most important thing.
I don't think many people on this planet get to feel the gravity of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal, man. And that's a great way to walk away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if in the moment you're like, I trust the Lord, and it's hard right now.
Yeah.
This is not what I was planning on.
Yeah. I mean, that's the last time I wore the orange and white. I mean, that was it. Like, I walked off,
and you were kind of the storyline of the game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was the culmination of like all of our goals. We had it. We were there.
That's something that kind of sucks about college football right now. Like you said, I got to play with these guys for 4 years. The coaches were the same.
Mm-hmm.
You see these teams right now, they're just trading each other all the time. It's hard to build that camaraderie in that team like they used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's certainly changed. I mean, I think, being a former college football player, like, my hope is that, we can somehow keep the sanctity of college football, the rivalries, the traditions, the fans, like, there is so much awesome stuff there, right? And right now it just feels like it's pretty corporate.
Yeah.
And my hope is that there can be folks who can figure that out for all of us, right?
Before we get to the NFL real quick, I told you this the other day when I put out something on the internet. I said, what do you want me to ask Colt? And your boys from Tech were like, ask him about Crabtree in Lubbock, Texas. And you had a funny story.
Yeah.
So tell us the three, how you and Crabtree became buddies.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously 2008, we kind of had everything we wanted right in front of us, and we get beat late in the game in Lubbock, prime time. Crabtree catches the ball on the sideline. I'm standing right there. Like I'm on the end of the field kind of watching the play. Like all we got to do is keep him in bounds, game over. People forget we played horrible the first half. We made this epic comeback in the second half. I get the ball with like 3 minutes left. We march 80 yards and score. And as I handed off the ball to like, and our guy runs into the end zone, I look up at the scoreboard and there's like a little over a minute left. And I'm like, did we just score too early?
Yeah.
But you can't really, in the moment, it's like, dude, we just scored. I mean, we just made a crazy comeback, and our defense was good that year. And, so I go down on the sidelines, like the far end, just like, all right, one stop, baby. Like, we got this. And then Crabtree catches in front of me, walks in and scores. Yeah, it was brutal. So I'm playing for the Cleveland Browns for I get drafted by the Browns to play my first 3 years. I'd gone through 3 head coaches, 3 general managers, and now an ownership change. So the owner ended up selling the team to Jimmy Haslam. And I remember Jimmy comes in, who's a great friend of mine, and it's his first day, and he brings his dad, and it's got to be an awesome experience for the Haslam family, right? They're wonderful people, and at that point, like it's been rough. Like I've played decent football, but we just and I've given it everything I had, and I was prepared to be a Cleveland Brown my whole career. I mean, you don't go into the NFL expecting to like bounce around and play on different teams, and like I'm fully committed to. I loved Cleveland. Remember having a conversation with Mr. Haslam and just like, hey, how's Cleveland treated you? What do you like? And I was like, look, I love it all. It's been hard. Now I'm going on another coach. Like, been through a lockout. Like, there's just a lot here. I was like, and if you want me to be a Cleveland Brown, like I'm all in. But if not, like it might be best for all of us if I got a fresh start somewhere. And he said, I'm not going to make any like personnel decisions this whole first year. Like I don't know. I'm going to evaluate. I'm great. And I remember, he called me back and just said, hey, why don't you come see me in the morning? Something like that. And so I did. And long story short, through that whole process, he says, let's get you a fresh start. And I get traded to the 49ers. So I'm like at the facility at like 8 a.m, meeting with the owner, and at 3:00 I'm like landing in San Francisco.
Oh wow.
To be
that quick.
Yeah. So what happens when you're under your rookie contract, it's a 4-year contract. So you get traded you're going into your 4th year. The Niners just picked up the last year of my rookie contract, which was guaranteed. And so I just get a fresh start. And it ultimately was like the best thing that, it's sad and you're confused and, you're kind of excited at the same time. And so I get there and, they pick me up, they bring me to the facility. I'm with Harbaugh and the GM, and you go sign your contract, and you're meeting everybody. And, Harbaugh's like, hey, why don't we just, come show you the locker room, come down there, the lights are off. And I'm like, great. I'm getting the whole tour. And, we go in and he flips the lights on, and my locker's like right around the corner. And I look over there, and Crabtree is sitting at his locker, and Harbaugh puts me in the locker right next to Crabtree. He's like, hey, I think you might know this guy. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me right now. But Crabtree comes over, high fives, like big old smile on his face. I hadn't talked to him since that happened. And we were locker buddies for a whole year in San Francisco. He's awesome. And, but that's yeah, I mean, I remember exactly where I was standing when he scored, and like, that ultimately knocked us out of the national championship and probably a Heisman, and probably, it was brutal, but that's also football. Like,
yeah,
that's why we all love it.
Dude, it's the best.
And so we obviously got our, got our stuff out of the way and became boys. And, I threw him a bunch of balls that year and it was fun.
Yeah, I was in Vegas. TCU played UNLV that weekend. So we were watching it from the Bellagio Sportsbook. I remember it too.
Yeah, it was, I mean, people ask me like, what are some of the toughest places to play?
Yeah.
Like, back then it was, you played Nebraska, there was in 08 and 09, 7 of the top 15 teams in the country were in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Say what you want about the SEC, but like 7 of the top 15 teams, sometimes 8. I mean, Kansas won the Orange Bowl, 2007. Wow.
Really?
Yeah. So everybody was decent. But like, playing at Oklahoma State on Halloween was like ridiculously hard and loud, like crazy.
And that field's so tight.
It did. Zach Robinson and Des Bryant and great defense. Like, but playing at 8:00 in Lubbock on primetime.
Oh,
I mean, that's one of the hardest. I mean, people are throwing stuff at you. And like, we walked in the stadium and the entire student section was full at 4:00. You walk out for warm-ups and it's just everything you could imagine. I mean, I had guys from my high school class. Like I always told you how much I love where I grew up. I mean, I had high school teammates of mine on the front row, like, we're going to get after you tonight, boy. Like, dude.
And you can hear it.
Oh, yeah.
You pretend like you don't, but you can hear it.
Of course. That was awesome. I mean, that when I say the sanctity of college football, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like that is incredible. That's what I remember. Playing at Nebraska, playing at A&M. Like all these places were crazy hard to play.
And away versus home is a big deal. Like it really is a change of psychology to be away.
Big deal. I never had more fun in my entire career than going on the road and beating somebody. Yeah. I took massive amounts of pride in
that. You said one thing real quick. You said Jimmy Haslam saved your career. Did he save your career by letting you go?
Yeah.
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 Well, what would have happened if you hadn't? Like what?
Who knows? I mean, listen, I loved Cleveland. Cleveland's a really hard place to play.
Yeah.
And, I gave it, I have no regrets on like, I mean, I learned a ton. I grew up a ton. I mean, I gave it everything. And, when I played there, it was like Pittsburgh was winning Super Bowls. Baltimore was winning Super Bowls. You played them twice a year. Cincinnati was good. Like that's your division. You play 6 games like that.
Yeah.
It was tough, and it was the weather, and it was cold, and like I loved it, and all of that was a great like experience and learning curve for me. But sitting down with Mr. Haslam and him, kind of understanding, and looking at the totality of what had gone. I mean, listen, you get drafted by a certain regime, they get fired after first year, a new one comes in. They're not the people who drafted you, but you play a year with them, then you get a new one, then you get a lockout, then you get a new owner. I mean, it was just like, what's next?
Yeah.
And if it's the best thing for me to like kind of, I don't want to be selfish here, but if there's another better, if somebody's going to offer you a good amount of picks for me, like we should think about it. And ultimately when I got to San Francisco, that was a great football team.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Hall of Famers all around me. Made great friends. You're talking Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman and Justin Smith and Alden Smith and Frank Gore and Vernon Davis and a stud offensive line. I mean, you go down the list. Like, I learned to love football again that year, big time. I was like, oh, this is fun. We ended up getting beat in the NFC Championship game by Seattle. In Seattle. It was the whole Crabtree, Richard Sherman scuffle in the back of the end zone, last play of the game. We were that close to making a Super Bowl. And from then I became a free agent, could have stayed in San Francisco. I think that was a real opportunity. And I think just I kind of weighed my options, and I felt like Washington was a better place for me. I ended up playing 7 seasons there. Loved it. And so it just kind of re-energized me on football again.
What is the biggest learning curve NCAA to NFL?
I was trying to explain this to my kids the other day.
Okay,
listen to this. I took my kids to the All Saints Regents state semifinal playoff game last week.
Okay.
And my son is 7. I have 4 kids. I have 3 girls and a boy. My oldest girl's 10. My second girl's 8. My son is 7, and my little girl's 4. After the game's over, you got one side that's like holding up the trophy, pumped, we're going to state, right? I've been there, and it's a beautiful feeling, right? So you're like, that's awesome. You look across the field, and everyone's crying. Fans, parents, cheerleaders, band, players, just devastated, right? And they start playing Kenny Chesney's song, Boys of Fall, which is like, right? And so, like, I'm caught up in this moment, like, because I know both sides. Like, I nothing in I didn't love anything more than high school football.
Yeah.
So we get back in the car, and Judd, my son, says, like, why were those boys crying? And I was like, where do I start? Like, how do I? Because what my son has seen is that, like, oh, you want to go play college football? You can go play. My daddy did.
Yeah.
You want to play in the NFL? We can all go play. Like, go play in the NFL. That's what he's seen. He's seen me. He watched, 5 seasons of his life was at NFL games.
Yeah.
And so trying to break that down for him of like, hey, like, for 99% of those guys that were crying after the game, like, football is now a memory.
Oh, it's over.
It's over. Like, they won't ever put their pads on again. Like, it's it. And he was like, why don't they just go play in college? I said, because, like, you have to be outrageously better than everyone else to even sniff the opportunity to go play in college. Like, it's so hard to go to college. I mean, it's less than 1% go play college football. And it's getting worse now. I mean, high school athletes aren't hardly getting recruited as, now because you got the portal. I was like, and not only that, like, if you get to go play in the NFL, like, less than 1% of those guys in college get the chance to go play in the NFL. I was like, you have to have so many things go your way. You have to stay healthy, and you have to be so good to even think about having the opportunity to go to the next level. And I could just see him thinking, like, dang, like, dang, and my girls are in the back seat, like, wow, I've never thought about that. And that's the truth. Like, I hate that I'm not playing football now. Like, every part of me outside of my elbow right now knows I could still be playing. But at the same time, like, my heart is so full for what I got to do, because I know how hard that is. And I know it wasn't just me. I had people praying for me. I had people help me. I had people encourage me. Like, I mean, it's so hard. I got to play 14 years. I didn't accomplish all my goals and dreams. I mean, I didn't even come close. Like, I'm a competitor. But at the same time, like, I'm so grateful that, my kids got to see me play, and it kind of gave me a good runway to go, be a great dad and husband and go start a business. And it's unbelievable. I just told you where I came from. And, so I'd be crazy to not wake up every day and just, like, legitimately count my blessings.
And we're going to talk about the decision you made to leave in a second. I do want to go back to just when you leave the NCAA and you're at the top, and now the 1%'s going to the 1%.
Yeah.
Do you have to change as a player? Like, do you have to become a new player? Like, what's the learning curve?
Yeah, I think,
is it because it's a business now also?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, you're getting paid now.
You're getting paid. The game's a little different. Maybe. I don't know.
No, it is.
Like, are you having to relearn the game again when you get into the NFL?
Yes. The way that I played in college was not going to translate to the NFL, because, like, I led our team in rushing my junior and senior year in college.
I didn't know that.
Not by choice, but just for, like, that was our personnel, and that's what was asked of me, and I had to do it. never in the NFL would that happen.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I remember playing the Patriots my rookie year, Tom Brady and crew coming to town, and we beat them 34-14. And I had like a 17-yard touchdown run. Ended up, I mean, I like, that's about as good as I can do. Like, there's no way I'm getting 20.
Yeah.
And I remember like getting out of the pocket, it's kind of a broken play. And like, I'm looking at the pylon, the front pylon, because I ended up like diving it and barely clipping the front pylon. But I remember like there was dudes that were like 6'5", 300 plus, like gaining ground on me that entire time. And like, come on. Like I can do, and it's the speed of the game is guys you've never heard of ever are like the biggest, fastest, strongest guys that God's ever created.
Yeah.
Coming at you. Right. And so it's a different game. The speed's different. The size is different. The way you get hit is different. And so the way you play the game has to change. Like ball's got to come out. You got to make quick decisions, right? You got to be accurate with the football. You got to throw in between guys at the line of scrum, 6'2".
You got to have the no look throw.
It has to be part of your game. It has to be. Where like because I gotta get the ball in that guy's hands to go make a play. That's my job.
Yeah.
In rhythm, on time, accurately, so it's a catch and run. And you got to do it over and over and over. And the difference between college and NFL is that like the complexities of the scheme is different. Like there's no, I got to go to class for 6 hours, break, and then come back and do football. It's football all day.
Yeah.
And you're playing against the Rex Ryans and the Bill Belichick's and the Mike Tomlins of the world who are drawing up, coverages and defenses that like, I mean, hard to like understand and execute against. And it's week in, week out, week in, week. I mean, the teams who are 2-9 right now in the NFL like are full of great players. And if you're not on your game, like they're gonna get you.
Yeah.
And it's just a high level competitive environment. I would say. I was thinking about this the other day. If you ask me what I miss the most about the NFL, knowing how hard it is to get there, was that for 14 years, like I would get in my car early in the morning, I'd drive to work, and like when I turn off the truck and I walk in that building, it is like if you aren't like competitively geared up to like go compete and win your job and do it at a high level, you're done. Like immediately.
There's no grace.
There's grace for a few people, and there's grace for guys who are just unbelievable God-given talent. Right? And there's some of those out there.
Who's the greatest that you ever played against?
The greatest athletic freak I've ever been privileged to, and I've played against him. I just named names in San Francisco. But Trent Williams is the best athlete I've ever been around.
Really? I was not expecting that.
Trent Williams played at Oklahoma, but he's a Texas boy from Longview. It would take him 5 minutes to walk from here to that door right there. He would take him. It would take him 10 minutes to walk out on the practice field. It'd take him 20 minutes to put his gear on. Like, I'm talking like slow. The moment he got in his stance and was like no stretching, no warm ups, like incredible. I watched him in a 10-yard sprint with no warm up be a full body length ahead of Deshaun Jackson, who's one of the fastest guys I've played against. In a 10-yard sprint, Trent beat him by a full body at 330 pounds. And I watched him walk into a weight room, no warm up, put 515 on the bench. How many you want, coach?
Just different.
He's like, I don't need to be in here. You know what I can do. Like, just completely. There's guys like that. Not a whole lot, but there's guys like that. But But if you ask me what I miss the most about the NFL, I would say like my favorite part, number one, is scheme. Just the X's and O's. It's the grind all week of like motioning and shifting, formations and creating mismatches and switching up your personnel groups to like get the look you want, and then you get them. Right? Like they're like, man, it feels good, and I love that about the game. But the second piece I would say, and this one was hard for me to kind of figure out, was like I miss the violence of the game. I miss coaches yelling, players yelling, pads popping, blood, like sweat, like fights, all because you are in a like dog eat dog world at all times. And if you don't bring it, you're out. And like living in that world for, 5 years in college and 14 years in the NFL, and like not knowing anything different when you walk away from that, like you're like, whoa, everything's different. You can't. It's really hard to like, recreate that. And I know for me as a quarterback, you're like violence. It's like I don't love getting hit, but I'm in it. I'm around it. And you it's hard to, you're in the locker room and you're picking on each other and like, you walk in and you're taking your ankle tape off and you got to bet with your guy next. I can hit this in the bucket right here. How much you want? 100? All right, boom. Like it just never stops. And like I miss that.
So when you're taking a snap in the NFL or in college and you're looking at these defensive end and linebackers whose only goal is to destroy you, at least at the beginning of the play, do you ever even like, are you ever thinking about like, are you nervous?
Like, no, I can't be.
You can't be.
No.
You have to. So you're just like, did you ever play? I don't know. Who was like the scariest line? Was it Urlacher or was
Ray Lewis?
Okay. If Ray Lewis is on the other side, you're just thinking past him.
Yeah,
like, I cannot think about this guy.
I lined up my rookie year or second year. I can't remember. I may have been hurt my rookie year when we played Baltimore, but in Baltimore, if you've never been to a Baltimore Ravens game, it's worth it. Like their intros,
I would not have thought that.
Their intros at the time, it was Ed Reed, it was Ray Lewis, it was Haloti Ngata, it was Terrell Suggs, it was. I mean, they had everybody, Anquan Bolden, and every time one of them comes out, fire shoots up. And the lights are off, fans are going crazy. And Ray Lewis comes out and does his like dance, and you if you're not like fully locked in, you're kind of already beat because you just. I mean, that's the whole goal there.
Yeah.
And we beat Baltimore a couple times, but I'm under center. Ray Lewis is playing middle linebacker, and the linebackers, they're like 4 or 5 yards off the ball, right? I'm under center. He walks up there and he goes, son, I'm not going to say what he said for real. He essentially said,
I'm going to kill you.
Hey, Rook, it's going to be a long day. And it was, and like, it's like, that's fair, but looking back, like I got to play against a lot of, you're in the NFL, like, and you're playing against guys where you say their names, everybody knows who that is.
Yeah.
And when it's a different beast when you're inside the white lines on a Sunday. It's just a different beast.
Okay. We talked about the hit in college but you said it really didn't hurt, the Alabama in 2009. You said it didn't really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
What is the actual hit you took that you felt like the hardest hit that to this day you're like, I don't ever want to get hit?
The hardest hit I ever felt was like playing in Pittsburgh on a Thursday night. They're really good. It was one of those just like ridiculously cold nights. It may have snowed a little bit, but like cold, like bone chilling cold. and we're like late in the third quarter, and we're in the game. It's a tight ball game. We're driving. I get out of the pocket and I flip it. I'm like looking downfield and I flip it to my running back on the side, and I like flip it, and all of a sudden, like this guy James Harrison comes out of nowhere and completely, completely knocked out, like blacked out. Don't know where I'm at, nothing. And I remember kind of coming to, right, like, whoa, and thinking like, where am I? What just happened? And why does like everything on my body hurt? It's like, I when I threw it, he kind of came around. I didn't really see him, and I tried to protect myself, and his helmet hit me, knocked me out, but my hand was in there somehow. I got a little like fracture in my hand at the same time. So when I came to, I kind of held my hand up to the trainers, like, so they looked at this. Long story short, I ended up going back in and playing like 17 plays or something like that.
Really?
Played awful.
Yeah.
Like we were in the game, and then when I came, I was throwing the guys who like weren't even in the route progression. I was doing bad stuff. And to this day, like if you turn the tape on, like any game I played in, I could kind of tell you what was going on. No idea in that game, which is really scary. But that was by far the hardest stuff. I was generally, like, I got popped a few times, but I was generally pretty good at, falling down or getting out of the way.
You're a free target.
Yeah. And he's
about as bad as Ray
He's
Lewis.
a brick wall. Is what
he's about, if it's Ray Lewis, he might be right there.
Yeah.
All right. So you're there 14 years. You're in Arizona.
Yeah.
I actually recall, was it the year that you decided to leave, or the year before you played when what's his name was hurt, and you played well?
Yeah.
And you even said right now, you said if it wasn't for my elbow, I could still be out there.
Yeah.
You probably have every option in the world to stay in the game in different capacities.
Mm-hmm.
And you're here in Fort Worth, which is awesome. But I kind of just want to maybe this last part of the conversation kind of talk about how you came to that decision.
Yeah. I've talked a lot about this.
A ton.
Yeah. So I ended up having surgery on my elbow. It was a tough deal. I tried to come back and play. It wasn't the same. And, I would practice a day and have to sit 3 days, and, it wasn't accurate with football. Like, accuracy was probably my number one trait as a quarterback. Was like, I could just, I could put it where I wanted to put it. And I kind of lost that. I lost some grip stuff. I lost my touch when you're dealing with, the outside of your elbow, and it ended it.
And you knew that?
Yeah.
Did everybody know that, or just you know that?
We went through a coaching change, and so it was hard to communicate that with my new coaching staff. Like, guys, I'm not what I was. Players knew it. I mean, all my receivers and teammates were like, he ain't got it no more. So I actually had to go to the team and be like, look, like, yeah, I ain't got it no more. Which was good. I mean, I'm getting put on IR, and I had a whole year to kind of, like, Rachel and I kept our kids in school in Phoenix because, this thing's over with, and I wasn't necessarily prepared for it, but I knew at some point it's going to come to an end. And that just started this journey of what's next. And I think everyone in my life at the time probably thought I was just going to transition into being a coach and take that route and be great at that. Like, all my teammates, all my former coaches, all my former owners, the position that I played, the service time that I had, the relationships that I made, the markets that I played in, it was there for me to go be a coach. And, I think if you asked me in that moment, it was like, yeah, I mean, like, that's probably what I'm going to do. But I started praying about it, and Rachel and I were really intentional about it. And, I think for me, I had to put my priorities in line. Like, okay, I've always said that, football wasn't the most important thing, but it sure feels like it right now. And so peeling back the layers of my heart to like get down to like what is the most important thing. And I mean, Rachel and I brought like a whiteboard into our room, and we would write like the pros and cons of what would it look like if we stayed in the game, and how would it affect our family. And you'd probably have to move a couple times, and kids would have to change schools, which they'd already done a couple times. And I think it was one of the first times where, my whole life up to that point was like I was on a mission. Like if I wanted to sign as a free agent to Washington, I moved to Washington and told Rachel to pick up the pieces and meet us there and find a house and find a school for the kids. Like, I'm working, and then we moved to Phoenix or whatever, moved to New York. Like that's how I operated. And so it was really important for me to, and you kind of had to do it that way.
Yeah.
It was really important for me to bring Rachel into this, and let's go through this process together, and let's not make any quick decisions. Like, we're here for a year, and let's figure out exactly what I'm supposed to do, where God wants us to be, and let's walk through this together. And it became over time really apparent to me that like I wanted to be present for my kids with my time. And if it had just been me, then I'd be trying to be a head coach somewhere. But with a wife and 4 kids and young kids, like I don't want to see my kids like walk out of the house, go on with their life, and like I don't know much about them.
Yeah.
That was a huge fear of mine. And so we started praying. We started praying intentionally. Like, okay, God, if it's not football, what do you want me to do? And didn't really get any clear answers. So we backed up and said, like, okay, well, where do you want us to live? If I'm not gonna go be a coach, where do you want us to live? Let's start there. And it was amazing what I identified as like what was important to Rachel and what was important to me
on the whiteboard.
And things were very different, but also some things were very similar. And we started just, kind of doing that, and then praying together, and then praying on our own, and then coming back and like, hey, like, where are you at on this? Like, what, like, and dude, like, not easy. Hard, really hard, because it's like, I've done one thing my whole life. I've told you that. Like, so to think about doing something else is like, it's a foreign planet. And so like all these things just over and over through a ton of prayer, and like, I mean, ultimately getting on my knees and being like, all right, what, where, when, and I went back to when I was in my 3rd year in the NFL. This is a quick story, but like I watched 2 of my closest teammates get cut. The GM comes in and says, hey man, you guys pack your stuff up, come see me in the office. Over. And I realized, like, hey, at some point football's coming to an end for me. I hope it's not today. This is my 3rd year in the NFL, but like it's going to come to an end. And so I would go home in the off seasons to Austin. We had a place in Austin, and I would sit with like big CEOs of different companies, private equity, real estate, some family office guys, some oil and gas, like, and I learned a bunch. Really, I was looking at like different leadership styles. How does he operate here? Well, and you're learning bits and pieces of what they do along the way, and you might invest a little bit in some of their companies and deals if they allowed you to. And like, it was awesome. I did it for like 6 to 8 weeks every year. Then I'd go back because I wasn't good enough to not go back and start practicing football. I would leave. But I made all these awesome relationships. And so during that year, I would fly back to Texas, and I'd go sit with each one of those guys. Like, what do you think I should do? And to a man, every one of them was like, I think you should go. If that's how you feel about football, and you've got this, you and your wife are aligned in this, you need to go start your own deal. You can do it. It doesn't matter what you do. You should, but you're wired to go do that. Which was foreign to me. So then it became like, well, what did I enjoy most? And that was real estate. I loved being in the real estate environment. I thought there's so many different parts of it.
People and characters.
People and relationships and I enjoyed it. And so I said to Rachel, like, we got to figure out where do we want to raise our, if I'm leaving the game, like, it's the first time in our life we get to pick wherever we want to go, like anywhere. We can move to Alaska, I'm not going to, but
not a good real estate market.
So, but you got to think, like, before, I didn't know I knew I liked real estate, but I didn't know that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to get settled in a place because I could do that. Like, I didn't have to go get a job right away. And so we prayed through it and started visiting different places. We, thought about staying in Phoenix. We visited, San Antonio and back to Austin. And we always thought we'd move back to Austin. We had built a house in Austin, but that didn't feel right. We came to Fort Worth. My brother lived here. We had, I wanted to be closer to family, and, we kind of fell in love with Fort Worth, but it was also like, is this the right thing? Like, we've never lived there before. I think both of our hearts were probably geared towards moving back to Austin. And then it was like, well, let's sit on it for a little bit. And we start, and then like, and just literally like kept climbing, like it hit all the things geographically amongst our family, good schools, good people, like kind of how I grew up. It was the biggest town for me in West Texas, where like, if you needed to go, to a Rangers game, or you got a new pair of shoes for school, like you came to Fort Worth, right? And so like that, it started being that. And, I remember sitting on my knees and praying with my wife, and like, and it just became clear to both of us, like, that there's no doubt that's where this is headed. And we just got to trust that that's the case. So we planted our flag in Fort Worth and moved here, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I broadcasted some games and was kind of doing that deal for a little bit. And that was a really cool experience. I learned that I loved it, but it was a big chunk of my time. And, it was almost like I was a coach again. It was kind of defeated the purpose of, and I started leaning into the real estate world and jumped in and after a lot of interviews and job opportunities and different things, I kind of trusted a lot of my mentors, like, why don't you just go do it? Like, and so I did. I hired a bunch of guys who are a lot smarter than me, that are, high character, best in class, have been great executors at their job for a long time, that are all around my age, that have good families, and they saw the vision of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to build and why I think we can do it. And I mean, it's been amazing. But I tell you, I count my blessings from 14 years of playing NFL. Well, like, to be able to go do what I'm doing now with the guys that I get to do it with, and it's incredible. And Fort Worth has been an awesome place, and my wife has been with me every step of the way. She said, "Go be a coach if you want to be a coach. Like, we can do it. This is where you think God's calling you. We're all in. Go do it." And it's just been a really, nothing's been easy. Yeah. It goes back to what Coach Brown said, like, nothing's going to be given to you, boy. Like, you have to earn everything. And I feel that way now. But at the same time, I know that through tons of prayer and through like this sacred pace of decision making, that regardless of what happens for me, like, I know that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I have a whole lot of confidence in that, and I have a whole lot of faith and trust in that, because when you look at my priorities, God is first. My faith is the most important thing to me, and then it's my wife and my kids and my family, and like, taking care of them and being a good dad and being present. And giving back some time that I hadn't really done for a long time. And then it comes to work. And, I want to be a picture to my kids of, hey, like, it was awesome. You got to watch me play football, and You saw the ups and downs, you saw the injuries, you saw the broken legs and the broken thumbs and the big games that we won and what I had to go through, and now it's over. But now you get to go see me. Like, life doesn't stop. I want to be a picture to them of it's a restart, and I'm learning something new, and I'm going to go build a team, and I'm going to challenge myself, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to surround myself with good people, and I want to be that for them. And so that's where I'm at now, but it wouldn't have happened without just deep intentional. Like, I don't know what this next phase of my life looks like. I'm giving it. I'm open-handed, and I'm asking you to like show me. And that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen without tears, without like struggles, without sacrifice, without that whole process I just laid out is, I mean, it's like a nightmare, but it's in a way that I think is the only way that I got where I'm at right now. And if you talk to my friends in the NFL or my old coaches, like, they don't understand.
That's
because it's like,
tough.
dude, you were
ready.
You got your PhD here. You're walking away from it, and that's okay. They also know my heart, and they know what I believe, and they know what my priorities are, and they're proud of me. And I want to go do this to the best of my ability and go create something that's gonna last, and it's gonna help Fort Worth. It's gonna help all of our families, and it's gonna we're gonna leave it better than what we found it as.
Selfishly, I'm so glad you made that decision. It's been, one, awesome to have you here. Two, I think just the most fun part was knowing you were recruiting. Obviously, I'm in the industry. It's like, Colt's recruiting right now. Everybody had ideas, but that like, there was like that 2-week window where everybody started announcing, and it was probably one of the best real estate weeks in Fort Worth. Maybe that final kind of thought is like, how long was that? Was that a year-long process? Was that a 6 months? I know it's not a time thing.
Mm-hmm.
God tends
It was definitely over a year before I decided that I want to go start my own company.
So it was a lot of,
but it was probably a 8 to 9 month process of where do we want to live? Like, that took a lot, and I didn't move to Fort Worth knowing that I was gonna go start a real estate company.
Yeah,
like that came next, which is probably unique. But since I've started my company, I've really focused on 90-day increments. Like, okay, this 90 days, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And then I'm going to pivot to these 90 days. And so that's how I've always done it in football. It's like, all right, I got the summer to train. I've got spring training. Now I've got a season. Okay. Now, how did that go? Where did I do wrong? I would stand in front of the mirror in the off seasons and mimic my throwing motion and be like, how does this need to tweak? Like, ball needs to be up, down, like details. Right. And so that's the only way I know how to do. I'm doing the same thing now.
Yeah.
And honest truth, I learned so much from the guys I'm around every day that I can't even tell you. I'm asking questions over and over and over, and I'm learning by watching. I'm a visual guy. And so I think I'm in a phase of it's really fun. I get up in the morning, I take my kids to school, and I go to work, and when I'm on that drive to work, I am pumped. I am legitimately all right, what are we getting into today?
Yeah.
We got meetings, we got stuff, we got deals, we got let's go get it. And I think in that period of time where I went through this full trust process of man, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I hope that I can find something that gets me going 14 years in the NFL did for me. And I've said count my blessings a lot, but I do genuinely, because I have a lot of old teammates that hadn't found that yet. And I got to watch that, and I got to learn from that. And so I'm very thankful for the ability to get to do this. That's unique too. and I'm giving it all I got and excited about it.
Well, I'm grateful for you. I mean, the thing you said, we've talked about it a lot. I'm in a interesting season where I'm thinking about a lot. I think the most I've learned from you is every time I try and like force the answer, and I'm not at peace about it, I know God's telling me to slow down, and my nature is not to slow down.
Mm-mm.
And you've just been a huge source of inspiration of like, just be patient,
Mm-hmm.
like pray about it, think about it. And it's not easy. It hadn't been easy, and I'm not through it yet. So I'm just going to keep leaning on you.
Yeah. Like, patience. Also, you've been a highly, highly successful guy in life, in business, and in all that you've done. And to turn that off, like to turn a high performer off for a little bit and like sit in this sort of like process of like, what do I want to do? I mean, I've kind of crushed it here. I'm still confused. Like to turn that off and to allow yourself the time to grow and and make good choices and decisions. Like, it is a hard process.
Every
And
day.
my advice would be, go there. And if you go there and you're open-handed with it, like truly get to like, I'm holding everything loosely because I trust that whatever comes out of this is the right thing, led by God. And if you can get there, that's a beautiful place.
And I will tell you, I come home and some days Michael's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "I'm exhausted." She's like, "What are you exhausted about?" I'm like, the mental grind
Yeah.
of thinking about this.
Yeah.
And no, but it's been a huge blessing. And similar to you, it's taught me things about my life, even with the kids. Like, I used to think I spent a lot of time at home. Well, you don't know how much time you're spending at home until you have more time to spend at home, or how present you are. For me, my mind never really turns off. So coming home and not having as much to think about. All that to be said, I have more energy than I've ever had to go climb the next mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in that. I have some ideas. I'm not totally at ground zero.
For sure.
But
you're gonna have tons of opportunities, tons of ideas.
Well, who knows?
You don't gotta like go pick one right now. Like that one that you ultimately pick, it will slowly become the one.
What's funny, and I'll end it on this, is like, and we'll have more to talk about here. Some ideas have been outside of real estate in the last like 45 days. A lot of peace has been coming with playing back in the real estate world in maybe a little bit different capacity than I was. And we'll see what next year brings.
Can't wait to see.
Maybe we'll work on something together.
I got an open chair.
You do?
Yeah, think about it. Put that in your prayer list.
I want to come play with the dream team.
We got a long ways to go, but we're getting after it.
Well, dude, like I said, it's been awesome having you here this year. Become really good friends. I'm super pumped to have you here, but really today's like story was awesome. I learned a lot about you that I didn't know. So thanks for spending a couple hours with me.
Man, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on.